Good morning. This is Craig Study on Soccer, and I am here with Onua Obasi. And it is really great to meet you and to get to talk to you today. Thanks for joining me today, man.
Thanks a lot, mate. My pleasure.
So I'm going to do a quick sponsorship, and then we'll get started here. Study on Soccer is brought to you by and sponsored by Audin Technologies. Audin Technologies will take care of all your security camera and alarm system needs, all the way to servers and networks. Audin Technologies operates primarily out of the Midwest and the Northeast. You can contact Audin Technologies at infillc.com. That's their website. Or you can contact them on their email, which is jaudin@infillc.com. We want to thank Audin Technologies very much for sponsoring the Study on Soccer broadcasts. Let's get started. So, good morning. Once again, thanks very much for joining me today. So what I want to do with you today is a little bit of a walk back on history. I mean, I see a lot of what you've been doing and how much you've been engaged in soccer. Let's first start off that you were born in Birmingham, England. How long was it before you moved to the United States?
Yeah, I came over, I think about 21. I came over, what would that be, 2014, something like this? Okay. 2013 to play at Central Connecticut State University. I was fortunate enough to get a scholarship. So, yeah, I just wanted to keep playing football. I was just always obsessed with football. Luckily, you don't really choose what captures your imagination and passion when you're young. And for me, it was soccer or football, as I struggle to call it the right terms in the right countries. But yes, I came over I just really wanted to keep playing soccer, and that was the only avenue I had that would allow me to basically keep playing and not have to get a real job. So I decided to do my master's in Central Connecticut, and yeah, it was a good experience. I got to play soccer every day. In a college soccer season, you get to play soccer every day, and it was a joy.
Well, that's really exciting. So at what point were you introduced to the indoor game?
I was playing professionally. So after college, I got signed by Rochester Rhinos in upstate New York. And midway through my first season, it was actually really early on in my first season, maybe 4 games in. One of my teammates called Levi Wapu said to me, "Oh, the coach from my indoor team messaged me and he wants you to play for us." And I'd never heard of indoor, which is probably like a lot of people. But he said, "Yeah, he wants you to play." And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, it's indoor soccer." And I said, "I guess." And I was like, I really wasn't excited by it. I remember initially being like, "Oh, I don't want to play indoor. I want to focus on outdoor. I want to be an outdoor player," but didn't know about the sport. And he told me about the team, Baltimore Blast. He was like, "It's one of the best teams." I was like, "Oh, I guess." I said, "Yeah, I'll talk to him." And they offered me a contract that was significantly better than my 11-a-side contract, my outdoor contract. What? And this was the USL top, the top of the USL league. So I was like, well, the money's good. So, and they pay for housing. I was like, wow, cool. I'll do it, I guess, in the off season. And I think I was fortunate enough that my coach of my 11-a-side team, called Bob Lilly, had coached and played indoor himself. So he was, I wouldn't say enthusiastic, but he definitely was like, "Oh, I know the team really well. I know the coach really well. It's a good place to play." He allowed me to do it basically because he could have stopped it if he wanted, but he allowed me to do it, which was lucky because obviously it set me on another trajectory of my career.
No kidding. So tell me, how, from your own point of view, how long do you think it took you before you were settled in with the different nuances of using the boards in the small side soccer?
I don't think to this day I'm comfortable with the boards, if I'm being completely honest. I had a background in futsal, so that, and I was pretty good. Like, I was a good player and I was always skillful and I had a good size, good physicality. So I had the traits that transfer really well to indoor, which I didn't know until you go in there. Plus I was young on a veteran team, so I was surrounded by a really
Yeah.
strong structure, and the veterans were good, like some of them were tough, hard nosed, some of them were friendly, some of them were, so I had a really good mix. And the coach, Danny Kelly, and the assistant, David Bascom, were really good. They just, they just basically taught you what you needed to know. They didn't overcoach you. They let you play. And because there was so many veterans around, you just learn quickly, but also being a good athlete helped. And, they put me in right away. I remember I played the first game, and I played every game, which for a rookie is quite. And now I know it's rare, but for me it was just normal. And I was always a player who didn't.
Right.
I used to hate giving away the ball, so that helped me because, if you don't give away the ball and you can defend, you already can play. And so that
Right.
I feel as though pretty quickly I kind of felt comfortable. I wouldn't say I understood the nuances, but I felt comfortable.
Well, and some of the players on that team, I mean, Vinny Dantas was on that team. And trying to think, Vanzella was probably playing in goal.
Yeah, Vanzella, Neto, Tony Donatelli, Juan Pereira's first year, Matt Mello's first year. So, yeah, it was a good crop of players. And Max Ferdinand was on the team. He was a top player. Yeah, there was more. I'm forgetting some names. We had a really strong team. Lucas Roque was on the team. Yeah, man, it was. Now I look back, it's like literally an all-star team. It was an all-star team.
I was literally just going to say that. It sounds like from today's standards, that sounds like an all-star squad. And you guys had good success. I mean, you guys really did well. You were with them for what, 2 seasons?
Yeah, 2 seasons, and then the outdoor team. I moved to I wouldn't say a bigger club, but a club that had aspirations to spend a lot of money and stuff. So when I moved to Ottawa Fury in the USL Championship, they didn't let me play indoor. But at the same time, it was like they were paying me year round, and it kind of changed. It changed my. I didn't have to work in the off season. I could just my contract was good and multi-year. But yeah, no, we had good success. We lost in golden goal in the overtime in the final my first year, which was, I was on the field when the overtime goal went in, and it was, it was a unique experience. You're that close to glory. We were in Mexico and they score, and the feelings of, oh man, that's it. It's over. The season's over. And the next year I won the USL championship. I won the USL championship, which was really cool. And then in the same season, I won the MASL championship. So it was that was a really. Now I look back, it was obviously super unique, but it felt special at the time. But it was, you literally beat everyone. Like the feeling of, there's no one left. We've done everything.
No kidding. On both the full size and the small size game. I mean, that's a huge season. Wow. Yeah, that had to really pump your thing up. I mean, as a young player, something like that is, like you say, it doesn't. I mean, it's super unique. I mean, a lot of players go through their entire career and never win a championship.
Yeah. No, I was really fortunate. Obviously, I was in a great team. We nearly won it my first year, and then the second year, we got past KC. KC, I think, were arguably better than us, but we dug out a performance, beat them, and then obviously with the USL, and then when you're in it, you're not thinking too much about the bigger picture, but. Yeah, it was a really cool experience because it kind of, showed me what it takes to win, and there's different ways to win and different coaching strategies to win, and what are the common denominators between a winning team, which served me well when I'm trying to think about coaching and thinking about how to put together a good team and what sort of personalities and what things to focus on and what things not to focus on so much.
Well, when you're playing and your head coach is Danny Kelly, and I mean, you're going to pick up some coaching points just from watching him coach, just from being a part of his team. I mean, what a fabulous coach that guy had. His career coaching was outstanding.
Oh yeah, he was. When people ask me about my best coach, I say Danny Kelly because he Bob Lilly was probably the most hands-on and just. You know exactly what you're required to do. And if you don't do it, you're going to hear about it. So he was like really, really specific and really forceful in how he would put his, his ideas across and the intentions he wanted his team to play with. And in every moment, you basically knew, all right, I should do this and not this. And he would like at halftime, he would talk about an incident that happened in the 5th minute. And then the next day, he'll talk about an incident that happened in the 30th minute. You should have done this. You should have done this. And if you're open to learning, some players, they don't like that, but he's also smart with recruiting because he recruits players who are like that. So these are all lessons I picked up. But Danny Kelly, on the other hand, he would have that attention to detail, but in terms of man management and just personality, and because he'd played and was such a good player, I don't know, he could get his message across without being maybe as forceful. He didn't need to be. He could just, he would show with passion at moments, but he just would kind of let you get on with it and then tell you in a way that you were like, you wouldn't feel threatened. You wouldn't feel like your ego's being affected. So yeah, he took all the best, I think the best factors from all the different coaches, and he had that, and recruiting, obviously you could recruit best players, which is half the battle.
When you're coaching at that level, I mean, there's a lot of egos on the field. So you really need to know how to manage as much as coach. You have to really know how to manage the players and how they get along and how they gel and how their chemistry comes together on the field. When you played for the Ottawa Fury, that was the last time you played professionally outdoors, wasn't it?
Yeah. I played 4 years there in the USL, 1 year in the NASL first year, and then the USL Championship for 3. So yeah.
And you're saying that the Fury would not let you play indoors?
Nah, it was one of them where I had finally got a good contract after winning back the championship from USL Championship. I was well regarded in the USL, so yeah. Then I finally got good money. Like not crazy money, but good enough money where I was like, all right, yeah, I'm good for like I can do this year round, and I don't need to worry. So that was nice, yeah. And I just couldn't keep it up as well. I'd played 2 years with no break, no off season, and I always tried to look after my body, but I wish I knew what I knew now back then. Like I wouldn't go out and stuff, but my sleep schedule was not great. I would do, I wasn't eating as clean as I could. Things that I just didn't know were so important that maybe could have allowed me to stay a little more injury free. But no, I played there for 4 years and it was a good experience. I had different sorts of coaches, different, seeing lots of different things, maybe more bad than good in terms of, but you can learn from that too if you're open-minded.
Absolutely. So let me ask you, what was it? How did it happen that you ended up playing for Utica City? Because then you moved indoors.
Yeah, so I was playing USL Championship. I was gonna sign again, and then the team I was on in Ottawa folded. So we wanted to stay in Canada. So there was a Canada MASL team. I think it was the Mississauga Metro Stars or something like that. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
And their owner, no, it was actually David Bascom, who's obviously the Baltimore coach. He kind of hooked me up with their team. He knew the coach, and the coach was really cool. And I decided, all right, I'll play there because that way I can stay in Canada and I can make some decent money and I get to play indoor. And obviously, I'm good at indoor. Probably when I go back, I'll be even better because I've played a high level at USL. And so I initially signed for that team, but that team folded before the season started. But before they folded, they played an exhibition game against Utica. And to be fair, I was rusty. I'm not going to lie. I was rusty coming to indoor, but I played all right in the friendly game. And I spoke with Tommy Tanner and had a really, really good conversation with him. And he basically made me want to play for his team. Like I really enjoyed, the way, how honest he was, how kind of generous he was. And I was like, I like this guy. Never really thought too much of Utica, like the city. I don't know it, but I like Tommy. I like the Tommy. So let me,
Tommy's great.
Play for them. So I played for them for that first season, and we were having a good season. And COVID came. COVID destroyed the season.
Yeah. Sure did. I mean, that was so frustrating.
Yeah. I would have loved how we finished that season.
I mean, it ended, and it wasn't even midseason. It was late in the season. There was only a few games left,
Mm-hmm.
and so the playoffs were kind of. I mean, you kind of knew who the top teams were. What you pretty much knew where you were angling for, what teams were going to be doing well, and then all of a sudden it's just done.
Yeah.
That was, just frustrating. But it was frustrating not just for the MASL. I mean, it was frustrating everywhere. I mean,
of course, yeah.
Every sport, supermarkets, the whole thing. I mean, it was a full social collapse.
Mm-hmm.
But you ended up playing in Ontario for a short time. Was that during the COVID season?
No, that was the next season. So I went back to Utica and was playing there. Had a not a great not a great start to the season. We went to Florida and just it was not good. We lost both games. Pulled my hamstring. We trained outdoors. I remember we trained on a just not smart player management, if I'm being honest. And that's the thing. I learned these lessons harshly because it happened to myself. And basically, we played in Florida. So we come from Utica, cold as heck, cold as you can imagine. We go to Florida. We play the game, first game. We lose pretty bad. They beat us. Good performance from them, but poor from us.
Right.
We'd already lost to, I think, first game of the season. I think we lost as well. So we'd lost one. We lose to Florida, and then I remember our coach made us do a double fitness day outside in Florida, and I tweaked my hamstring on the last 30 minutes of the second session. And just now I look back, it was so ridiculous. I should never have trained, and I had a groin injury in preseason, so I was really pushing myself. But when you lose a game and the coach is on you, and we were training outdoors. When we train indoors, we're training in the heat, dehydrated. It was like every factor just leading to injury. We were away from home, not eating our normal, so it was really frustrating because it was completely preventable. And so I picked up a small hamstring injury, and then I played a game against Baltimore. When we got back, we lost again to Florida. So we lost back-to-back to Florida. Then we playing Baltimore, who's my old team, want to do well against. And I remember, pull my hamstring, basically bad hamstring pull in training. After that game, doing something silly in training, pulled my hamstring, and then spoke with Tommy, and Tommy was like, "Listen, I think, maybe thinking to trade you, and where do you want to go, basically." So I was like, get me off the East Coast, get me out of this weather. So I went to California, and unfortunately, I was dealing with a hamstring injury. I played, I think, 8 games, only really felt fit for 2 of them, and it was disappointing. Really disappointing season. Team didn't make the playoffs, and so yeah, a lot of learning, experience.
But Onua, then you ended up back in Baltimore.
Yeah, that was went back to Baltimore, obviously close with the coach David Bascom there. Someone who's obviously helped me a lot, someone I kept in touch with from when I played. Always enjoyed talking with him, and he was like, want you back, and went back there. It wasn't fantastic. I was injured as well, and I had a family back home, like six or so hours away. So I was trying to get back to see them. Felt kind of torn between both places, and didn't have a great season, if I'm honest. Didn't another one of those seasons where you learn as a coach. Now I'm in a position of a coach. I learned so much from those seasons, more than probably when I won championships, because I learned more about when things are not going well, and how do you manage players? How do you get the best out of players? How do you communicate with players? Because I feel as though I could have done a lot better in that season. I just didn't know exactly what was expected of me. Was trying to rush back from injury because I wanted to help the team, but you need to save players from themselves, a lot of the time, because they will come back too soon. They will get hurt. If you just ask them, they're going to tell you, "Oh, I want to play. I feel good. I want to." They're not going to step out when they should. So, I learned a lot from that season. But disappointing season. Although the team did really well. Like, can't say how much I contributed to their success, but got to the playoff final. Give Chihuahua a good game. Pushed them to overtime on one of the games on a depleted squad. Beat Milwaukee twice, back-to-back in Milwaukee. Testament to the DNA of Baltimore Blast, because they're winning. They have a winning DNA in that team.
Yeah, they've had a good culture for many, many years. It's a great organization. So you finished up your indoor career playing in Harrisburg. That was the next season.
Yeah, that was the next season. Yeah, it's another one. It was actually one of the more fun seasons I had. I was injured again, like story of my career. Since that injury I got from Florida, that small
Yeah,
hamstring injury, literally my career injuries just also age. I'm not saying it was just that, but that was the start of a cycle of trying to come back too soon. But Harrisburg, yeah, had a few injuries, but Pat Healy there, I was
nice.
wanted to work with him because he's made competitive teams with a
Yeah,
lower budget, and I wanted
right.
to see how how his process. I was fascinated to go in and just see like what behind the scenes, and he was a player he was one of the best players I played, one of the best defenders, because he
Right,
wasn't very athletic, he wasn't super strong, but he
right.
was so effective. He would be the best player every game, like best defender every game for Baltimore when I played with him. So someone I respected as a player, and I got to work with him and see how he trains young players. How does he, with like 10 new guys coming in, how does he get them
Wow.
to play?
Right.
So yeah, I got to see that. Was injured a lot, but also got to play freely. He didn't put much restrictions on how I played. He would just give me confidence. Hey, we need you. Like, go and have a good game. And some players, that's all you need to tell them.
Right.
It's all they need to feel is that the coach has confidence in them, and to do what they do. And that's how I felt playing there. So even despite the injuries, I'll try and play and try and contribute. And yeah, I got to play Baltimore a couple of times, which is nice, playing against my old team and stuff.
Well, and Pat Healy was a teammate of yours the first time around with Baltimore, wasn't he?
Yeah. As I was saying, he was a remarkable player, like someone who, just kind of skinny, kind of not small, but like not so strong and not so fast. But when come to the game, just such a player, like just would make every tackle, would make every pass, couldn't
Yeah,
lose the ball, controlled
great.
everything, knew the rules better than the referees, knew the rules. It's like, yeah, it's the thing. You play with players like that, you learn so much. How can you be effective by, not being physical? Like, you don't have to be so physical. You just have to know what to do next. Have good technique, and So it was yeah, it was cool. It was cool playing with him in a way, But then obviously then learning from him, playing under him, as a player, and he was the coach. So.
So there's a brief little rundown about your playing career. Let me ask you, what was it that got you with Newtown Pride for the TST?
My best mate is he basically started that team. Him and his dad, a lovely family that I just fortuitously met. Through football, like all the people I seem to meet, and real character, and like just a if you meet him, like just a different kind of guy. And he saw me playing an amateur game. Like, he's the reason I went professional, because I was playing an amateur game. I tried to go USL, sent emails to all the USL teams, thought I might have been in the draft, naively, and had no follow-up. So this is me at like 20, I don't know what, 22, something like this, 23 maybe.
Yeah.
And he sees me playing an amateur game just on a random like Tuesday night in the Connecticut Soccer League. We played against his team, and I stood out, and he got my number, found my number somehow, which was harder back then. This is
Yeah,
before,
right.
before it was like everything was so connected with social media.
Sure.
Reached out to me, and I remember thinking, this guy's blowing smoke. He was like, I think you're good. I think I can get you a trial with a professional club, and just come and play for my team. And I remember thinking, oh, whatever. So literally, I played this game on Wednesday. By the next weekend, I'm working in his business, like painting houses. Me and his dad painting houses, talking about mathematics. And lo and behold, a month later, I have a trial at Rochester Rhinos, and the rest is the story we just started with the Rochester Rhinos. So
Right.
him basically, that was his team that I played on, Newtown Pride FC. Him and his
Yes.
dad started it, and just giving guys the opportunity to play, putting together really good players.
Yeah.
But then obviously when TST came around, I remember sending my mate Matt, his name is, the thing. Hey, there's this tournament, and we thought it was a scam at first. $1 million you have to pay to get in. I was like, it's a scam. but it wasn't a scam, and he went for it, and he got the blessing from his wife, Adriana, and because without that, it wouldn't have happened. And
Of course.
it went, and we won the first year, so that obviously repaid all the
yeah. I mean, and what a team that was. I mean, you guys had such a great squad. And I think the main question a lot of people might want to know is from a player's perspective, what was, I mean, it looks from as a spectator, it looks like the MASL players sort of dominated that tournament. Now, of course, there were a lot of other good squads out there, but how did you see the skill set, I guess, or the knowledge of small side soccer that benefited the MASL players in that tournament?
Yeah, so obviously we talked earlier about MASL All-Star teams, and this was a legit All-Star team. Like we had, and the thing is, it was all the players I thought were the best. Which not saying my judgment is impeccable or anything like that, but I see some players, and before TST came, I've always been a player who likes to watch football, obviously watch a lot of sport like football, soccer.
Right.
And so I would watch MASL, and I would watch players like I saw SK, before maybe everyone was talking about SK as one of the best in the league, which I think is common knowledge now. I would see what he was doing and be like, this guy is so good in transition, but he's also really technical. I see Marcel Berry and be like, this guy's speed he's faster than probably everyone I've played with. Like,
exactly.
Roy Morgan, who's a Newtown kind of original. Gabriel Costa, he was more obvious one because he was killing it in his rookie year.
Yeah.
But no, we had Robert Palmer, who one of the best defenders. So I had an understanding of the players I thought could translate really well, because there was another MASL team in that tournament called Velita, and they had what you would consider more the all-stars names. Like they had, Charlie Gonzalez, Craig Childs, Pardo in goal, Luis Morales, Rios from. So they had serious players, like a lot of the San Diego guys, Serda, like top players. But when looking at them, certain players I think can make that jump more easily to sevens. Whereas MASL is quite a niche sport. So I was looking at athletes, looking at, how do they turn the ball over a lot, because it's a big space to defend. If you're defending transitions, it's not indoor where you're going to get it back within 20 seconds because the game's going like this. So we just were probably the best prepared team and the most ability team. So stuff was in our favor. Teams weren't prepared to play that style. Teams weren't changing quickly. MASL guys know naturally to change quickly, and we had enough training where we had an idea. It wasn't so structured, it wasn't so structured as the next year, but it was enough structure that we, Jamie Thomas was on the team, and we had guys who they know how to pass and move and to defend, and there was a lot of balance. I think that's probably what I did more than any of the coaching, was just put together a balanced team that could manage itself and with good quality. Players who could finish, players who could defend, players who could possess. I think that was probably the key. Yes, and and luckily we won it. Because to win, we have to win 4 knockout games, which you can be the better team in all 4 and lose one of them, and the tournament's over. And which happened the next year, unfortunately.
Right. And Drew Ruggles was on that side too, wasn't he?
Yeah, Drew was there. Yeah, Drew. I remember the first day he come into training, lifted it with his quality. His left foot's a wand. He came in. He's a hard-nosed defender. He's a defender who can do a lot. If you ask him, I think he's a type of guy who, if he's the main guy, he can carry your offense, and he's a defender, which is, being a coach now, I see the value in that, because it's not, you're normally relying on your targets and this and that, and they get tired more quickly. But when you have a defender with that sort of level, they can really help. And he helped. He was really, really strong for us in that tournament.
So let's sort of go to modern day. Let's talk a little bit about this season. So you come in from the off season, and we hear about Onua Obasi is going to be the head coach of the Empire Strykers. Where did that come from? How did that happen? Talking to the Empire organization and getting that done.
Yeah, it actually came out of the blue. Obviously, I played in Ontario before it was the Strykers, and I always got on well with Jimmy. Always got on well with Jeff. Left things on good terms. I was injured a lot, and they were paying me well, so I felt. I felt like I owed them something. This is when I was here. Not this didn't play into the current thinking, but I always felt like that feeling of, well, they're paying me well. I'm injured. They took a chance on me. I never repaid them, but they didn't make me feel so guilty. They didn't make me feel so bad. They didn't, and plus the last 2 games I played, the games I was healthy for, I did well. I stood out. I showed, I'm the player that you paid for. I just was injured. So, they were. At the time, this is like 4 years ago, they were talking about bringing me back, and it just never worked out. Fine, I went to Baltimore, Utica, Baltimore, and so we left things on good terms. Jimmy's a youth coach as well, so he's an experienced youth coach, so we had something in common there because I like coaching kids too. And Jeff was an owner who was involved. He wasn't just I had more conversations with him than probably any of the other owners. In all the different clubs I played for, even in the 2 months, 3 months I was there. So, I think we had a mutual respect and a mutual understanding that, there's a good character here. There's a good vibe here, but that was it, So I go to TST and a team does well first year. Second year, we come back, we're even more structured. We play really, maybe overly structured, but we played really structured. And Jimmy was at that tournament with another team, so he obviously saw some of our games, and we had a pleasant conversation at TST, but nothing so serious. And I remember they asked me to be the assistant with Paul Wright. Paul Wright reached out to me, and I was flattered, of course, and I told him, "Hey, I'm flattered, but I'm going to be coaching M2 in the MASL 2 league as a head coach, and I prefer to be a head coach really in terms of the way I think of things and want things to be done. I don't like things to be done in a way I don't think is correct, so I think my mentality is more of like a head coach than an assistant, but I also understand you can learn a lot from being an assistant as long as the person above you is got a plan and has got which I wasn't sure in Empire, so I just was like, okay, let me so I said to Paul, right, no thanks, but I appreciate it, and, so I was looking forward to doing M2 with Spice City. It's a new M2 team that my friend Matt, again, full circle, because he'd actually said to me, if we win TST the first year, I'm going to make an M2 team. And he did, true to his word. So I was looking forward to coaching that team, recruiting players, putting together a training plan, thinking about how we're going to play, had some ideas, that I think could be effective. And then I get a call from Jimmy. And he, this is like maybe in early November of like last year, 2024. Yeah, really close. And he tells me, listen, I've got this opportunity, and I was like, is it assistant or head coach? He was like, head coach. I was like, oh, okay, well, that changes things. But then obviously my friend Matt, I'm integral to what he's trying to do with the M2 team. And I also, I coach my kids a lot. Like I coach kids, but I coach my own kids, which is very important to me because that I can give them what I think is the right sort of youth development, like making sure they enjoy it, making sure there's no pressure on them to be winning games at 8, 9, 10, just something I'm really passionate about is youth coaching. But so I had things lined up, for the fall and for the winter. And I said to Jimmy, basically, listen, if we can make it work, if you can tick these boxes, then I'll do it. Cause I really want to be a head coach of a professional team. It's always been a dream of mine since I kind of started to coach more seriously the tournament and stuff. I was like, what I can do in 2 weeks, if I can do that in 2 months, now I really can really like spread my wings and see what I'm capable of doing with a group of professionals for a long period of time. So basically Jimmy was like, listen, we'll make it work. Didn't really know what to ask for, so it was asked for what I thought was fair, and for them taking a risk on me. And I had a hard conversation with my friend to be like, listen, I want to do it, but I also feel a lot of loyalty to you. What can I do? Spoke to my son. spoke to my kids and was like, listen, my wife was supportive.
Great. That's everything.
And I felt, I asked my son, hey, I'm not going to be here to coach you, you have this opportunity, and he was like, said, yeah, go for it. Yeah. See how it is, so it was with definitely with some sadness, mixed in with some excitement. I took the opportunity. And it's been, for me, it's exactly what I'd love to do. I wish it was just closer to my family, which is the tough part. But in terms of, you're literally thinking of football every day. Like literally last night, I'm planning, it's just, you get to think about football every day, and it's meaningful because if we have 3 games in 5 days, and that's just for a coach. Yeah, it's tough for the squad, but it's like a puzzle you have to solve. How do I get the best out of Justin Stinson, knowing that he's going to play 3 games in 5 days? And, he's the type of player you can't really rest him so much because he just loves football, and, to kill his spirit to not play a game when he's healthy. And how to make sure Marco is 100%.
Right.
But for, Tacoma's a massive game because playoff implication. There's so many things that you can plan, and they have an actual, like a meaningful effect on what the group does, and
absolutely
educating the players about travel and, how to stay hydrated. There's so much things you can do if you care to do it. And obviously I care to do it. It's what I like to do. So yeah, it's, it ticks every box that you would want in a job and in a profession, even more than playing, even though the love of playing is, supersedes everything. But in terms of how much effect you can have, now you can affect everything. 25 players who affect the whole community, who affect, the whole league. And, so it's really fun. Yeah. I must admit, it's really fun.
Talk about how the season has gone. Last night you had an outstanding win. I mean, how often do you get a shutout in MASL soccer?
Yeah. And I was talking with Ed, the coach in Texas, and I said we were fortunate, mate, because they had chances. They could have, I don't get too. Something I learned from Danny Kelly. He used to say all the time, "Don't get too high, don't get too low." Which, we won 8-0, and but we haven't arrived yet. We still got stuff we have to clean up. They should have scored. If the score had been 8-3, it would have been a fair scoreline. It could have also been 12-4. You have to just be honest. But of course, it's nice. It's lovely to get a clean sheet. It means a lot to the group. It means a lot to me as well. Because we did limit their opportunities, which is what we try and do. Every team tries to do it, but to be able to do it across 4 quarters, that was one of the challenges we've had. Is we can put together 2 quarters and 3.5 and 1.5, and then with a young team and stuff like this. But the boys showed that was the most disciplined performance against a Texas team who can be dangerous. Beat Milwaukee in Milwaukee, beat Dallas twice when they had their full squad. Stankovic, Chavez, these players will hurt you in the counter if you let them have life. Luckily they were missing Macias, who's a really good player, influential player for them. Ortiz, another one. So, you have to feel lucky that we caught them at a tough spell. But we have to take care of business. And in terms of the season more generally, obviously our goal is to make playoffs, and that's the kind of the outward goal. But as I tell the boys like regularly, the only thing we can control is trying to improve our performance. Is to prepare to improve our performance, not even improve your performance. All you can do is prepare to improve your performance, really, because if you're prepared, it should follow into the games. And I think we've seen an uptick in performance for sure. Obviously, I'm asking them to do different things than they're used to, and there's definitely growing pains. And there's, we lost to Dallas, and that was a hard loss to take because the team that we need to beat to get into the playoffs, and we lost. And there was some bad refereeing. Blame the refs always, but but our performance wasn't good enough. So I remember in that moment after the game, I remember thinking, have I got this wrong? We can't play like this. Like we have to be more typically indoor, and there's elements of that we had to add into the game. But these are the painful lessons that you have to, you have to really how you feel in the game when the game finishes is one thing. How you feel once you've watched the game back is another thing. How you feel when you watch it back again with analysis is another thing. So I think when you go through those stages, you realize, you know what? On the balance of chances, we should have won that game. And if we'd won the game, would I be feeling the same way? Would I be feeling negative? You know, how do I transfer that idea to the boys that, listen, this is football. You can be a better team. You can create more chances. You can limit them and still lose. It's part of the game. So, you know, we lost 7-6, close game. Could have took it, you know, it over time. But yeah, that was a moment where I kind of was thinking, you know, having a bit of a think. What do we do? Where do we go from here? Do we switch some things up? Do we, you know? But in reality, you know, we've been trending like that. You know, is the truth.
I agree.
Upwards. So that's all I can really hang my hat on. And I think another thing is just, you know, a coach can give structure, you know, and structure can allow you to control games. So when I look at my team, I look at a team that controls games. Like, we might not win all the games, and we might not be we might not even be the better team in all the games. You know, KC away, they were definitely better. Chihuahua, they were better. You just have to hold your hands up. But what I see is a team that controls games, which I think is a good reflection of the fact we're doing something. We're adding structure. We're adding, you know, predictability to our game, which helps us be more efficient. So, yeah, I'm happy. Obviously, it's easier to be happier when you've won 4 in a row and everyone around you is happy. But you know, I don't lose sight of the fact that, you know, we have a really tough schedule. We play San Diego 3 times, Tacoma, who are, you know, are showing the level that they are, you know, earlier in the season. So, you know, we've got our work cut out for sure to keep winning and keep the momentum going. But as I say, you just got to prepare and give yourself the best chance when you walk into any game.
Well, right now you guys are sitting at the number 5 spot on the ladder. Of course, the ladder is a little difficult to figure out because every team's played a different number of games, and you are at a state where you are one of the teams that have played the most. You've played 19. Chihuahua has played 20, and it looks like Dallas has played 19 as well. And that's one of those things where the points that were lost early in the season, you can't get them back. And when you only have 5 games left to play, you really do need to keep this winning trend going. Now, from my observation, you guys, like you're saying, it's an upward trend. You got 4 wins in a row. I'm seeing a Strykers team that has gelled better. Their chemistry is better on the field today than it was 2 weeks into the season. Now, I'm not paying enough close attention to know what you've been doing as far as the personnel is concerned. If you've changed your lineups or not from the early part of the season, but as a team on the field, not only are you getting the results, but you just, like you say, you look better. The team looks better than it did early in the year. And I'm one of those. A lot of people have a problem with me because I'm one of those guys. You know, I'm a homer when it comes to, you know, my favorite team is the San Diego Strykers. Why? Well, because I live in San Diego. But I'm also a homer in the sense of region. So this is going to piss some people off maybe, but if it can't be the Strykers, I just assume it be the Strykers. And the reason I say that is because it's Southern California. I mean, you guys are only an hour and a half away from me, you know. So, obviously, I am as rabid a fan for the Strykers when they're playing you as when they're playing anybody else. But if you guys are playing somebody besides San Diego, man, I'm all with you guys. Nice. and it's just fun to see. The team has had some difficult years, and they've had some difficult finishes in some of the recent years. I mean, there was one season where if they'd have won any one of the last 9 games, they would have made the playoffs, and they lost them all and missed the playoffs. They just had, I mean, the way it turned out, you didn't know that it was going to work that way as it was happening. But when it was all over with, when it was all said and done, had they won one of those 9 games, they would have made the playoffs. and that's a difficult way to go out of a season. But it seems like you guys are on the opposite side of that. Of course, it's one of those deals when you're talking professional sports and you're looking at the playoffs, you want to peak at the right time and use that season as that ability to peak at the right time. So how do you feel about that? You feel like you guys are at that place? You don't want to peak too early, but you need to win all your games.
Yeah, it's funny. You mentioned obviously at the start about, the points you dropped earlier in the season, you can't get them back. And then you mentioned the history of this club in terms of, kind of crap in the bed towards the end of the season. And that's why I was up at 2 a.m. I just was thinking of those two thoughts. And I went, let me look at the standings and let me just double check who's plays who. And so, yeah, literally was up I remember looking at my clock thinking it's not going to be good. But yeah, mate, it's a very real, I wouldn't say fear, but something we have to really accept as a reality, because I don't, pay too much heed to the history. I just understand football in terms of, or soccer in terms of, you can not make it. You can be in good form, and then all of a sudden you play San Diego 3 times, and that's tough games. And then all of a sudden St. Louis keep winning and Tacoma keep winning, and now you're starting to say, well, so I remember looking at the schedule yesterday, but the reality is you have to just win every game that's in front of you. And, so I shouldn't have gone on my phone. It probably ruined my sleep, but I just had to kind of look and see, okay, because Wave are going to play St. Louis, and that's 3 games there. So I was just doing a little bit of maths and a little bit of understanding. But for me, as you mentioned about lineups, I think, and this is something I learned in my years at Ottawa, really having different coaches there, is that, coaches just want to play their preferred lineup and not really let other players play. Not that they don't want to let them, they just don't trust them. And I was never in that boat, because I was, always one of the better players and veteran player or whatever. But I was always friends with obviously the team, and was always interested to know what everyone was kind of feeling as a veteran. And I realized that a lot of players, they just will feel as though they've never got a chance. And that feeling of I never got a chance to prove myself can spill over into the team. It can spill over into training, and it reduces the level of the whole group. So something I was adamant about from when I coach kids to professionals, but it's different, but the idea is the same, is you want everyone to feel as though they had a chance to show. Everyone has to feel like I got chances to play. I didn't play well. I can look back at 4, 5, 6, 7 games, and I was in them. So there's no mystery as to how I play. And I think I've given that to, barring 2 players who've only played 1 and 2 games between them, I've give everyone enough games, and I haven't been afraid to rotate. And, even though it might have burnt me in the Dallas game because there was some serious players we didn't play who could have helped us win that game, it's like, in terms of the long-term strategy, we should come fresher at the end of the season. We should have less injuries. We should have a group that feels as though, hey, coach could put me in any game, because I've played 6 games this season. I feel like I can contribute in football. So you already get a training environment that's better. So I think, you mentioned peaking at the right time. I think all those things were done with the strategy to later in the season be able to look at our squad of 24 and everyone be healthy and everyone be ready. So obviously a span of 3 games in 5 days, which is a tough schedule with 2 away games in there on the back end, means now I can look at my squad and I can trust guys who, who have played, they've contributed, and, they're going to play big games, but they've played big games before. So it's not, I'm not throwing them into the lion's den and saying, all right, well, we need you because we have to rest someone or someone's injured. So I think, mate, I think we're peaking the right way. Playing San Diego 3 times, as I've said before, they're a tough team. They're, for me, the best skilled players. They have the most individual skill on a team. We've played them twice. We've lost twice. Both games were close in scoreline. And we're a better team now. They're a better team as well. So, we can't overlook them on Wednesday. And then we have Tacoma, which is a massive game that will have big playoff implications for both teams. So, they're trending in the right direction. And then we have San Diego, and then Dallas. So yeah, we're gonna have a work cut out to win the games, but we just have to go in and, as I said, just prepare, and that starts today. We have a video meeting. Normally, day after the game, it's a day off, but with the quick turnaround, we have video to look at San Diego, look at the things we need to do to win that game. So yeah, mate, it's gonna be I can't imagine it be so plain sailing. I'd love it to be, but you have to prepare for the worst and get the guys ready to win every single game, you know.
Onua Obasi, I'm going to see you on Wednesday night here in San Diego. I appreciate you coming on with me today. This is a great conversation. I just love going through different people's history and what got them to where they are today, and what you've done up in Empire this season has been an inspiration for everybody across the league, looking at how you guys have moved forward and improved as the season has gone on. Keep it working, keep it going, and I'll see you on Wednesday night.
Mate, it's a pleasure. Now, as I said in the message to you, I really appreciate what you do in the group, the MSL off the wall, like all that work, mate. It helps grow the game, and that's why I was so happy to come and speak to you, because people like you make what we do even more meaningful. So now I really appreciate it, mate.
Wow, thank you for those words. All right, man.
All right,
thanks for joining me today. All right, well, that was fun. Once again, I really thank Onua Obasi for joining me today. Getting to know the different people in the community and around is exciting. And thank you guys. Thank you all for watching. This will be posted. Well, it's on right now. It's on live. So you guys enjoy it, and we'll see you next week.